What's up, everyone? This is Richard with the Men of the House podcast, coming at you late night, literally about 30 minutes before this is going to drop. But it'll be dropping on the 21st at midnight. I'm going to start off with a reflection. March 21st, accept your flaws. It is a tricky thing to accept our flaws. On the one hand, we know we should love ourselves despite the ways we might fall short. Perfection is just an ideal, and one we will never reach. On the other, it hurts to miss the mark, worrying our hearts that we may never measure up to the person we hope to be and the expectations of the people we love. To reconcile this tension, we must simultaneously accept who we are in this moment and still strive toward being better. This is the work of being human. Well, how appropriate. Go ahead and put this away, and so I don't have to read. I'll take my glasses off. Yeah, we'll go ahead and dive in a minute on today's topic and kind of how that relates. But first, we're going to shout out the Podcast Connection Network and welcome in Amanda Hope with Magic and Metamorphosis with the Beloved High Priestess. She's the newest podcast added to the Podcast Connection Network. And then we have Hunter Allen with Everything is Connected, Amber McCrae with Connection Over Perfection, and Heather Harrington with Hot Mess Espresso. And then, of course, myself with the Men of the House podcast. Also, by the time this comes out, it'll be Amber's birthday, so go over there and wish her a happy birthday. Actually, let me grab your phone number. Just kidding. I'm kind of a jokester that way. Yeah, hop on over to TikTok or Instagram. Wish her happy birthday. But yeah, I'm kind of late getting this out. Been thinking about it, like how I wanted to word it. I kind of wanted to record it earlier. Really didn't get a chance, and then chose to spend a lot of family time this evening. That's kind of what we're going to go into. Is we're going to go into relationships, and maybe loneliness. It's kind of a topic. I don't know how deep I'll go on it. This is just a topic that I've thought about. As you kind of roam around TikTok, you see a lot of lonely people. And I don't mean lonely like in a bad way. Maybe lonely for connection. Some people are lonely for connection, but more specifically, I'm going to talk about like romantic connection. Some people are lonely for that, and I think that's kind of something we all have within us is, that desire to love and be loved, to connect to somebody, to have one person, to find that person. And yeah, so I mean, this is just my experience, kind of my views, my thoughts. I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm not a relationship expert. I'm only speaking on my behalf of, April 1 will be 18 years that I've been with the same person. So kind of that's what I know, my experience through that, kind of maybe how it related to the reflection, being imperfect. But, kind of going back to what I was saying is sometimes you see like this desire. Um, I think people are able to make these meaningful connections, but they want that kind of romantic partner. And, I kind of get that. I think it's something that's, you know, it's part of evolution. It's how we evolve. Um, Animals do it. Animals mate. They find mates. They reproduce. They continue the species. Um, so I think it's only natural we do the same. Um, but I think there's this illusion that people think that finding that is um, like this cure, this thing that it's gonna solve or fill um, that feeling you have whenever you're seeking it. Now, I don't know that I've ever really sought it that way, you know, and it could be I'm just different. So I'm an only child, grew up an only child, never any siblings. So I learned to be alone at a very young age. Um, and somehow, somewhere, some way, I understood very early on that you had to be happy with yourself, that you could have all these great people in your life, but they could disappear and suddenly, and then you're left with you, and you have to be able to deal with you. You got to be able to stand to stand yourself, um, to sit with yourself, to love yourself, accept yourself, imperfections and all. Kind of like the reflection said. But, so I think I grew up a little bit differently. And so I never really sought that out. I never had that need to be around another person. Um, I do remember wanting a sibling at times, and I often wonder, how siblings they often bicker, but like they always have each other. Sometimes they can get sick of being around each other, but imagine when you have nobody and you only can be around yourself. Um, you get sick of being around yourself unless you learn to love yourself. But definitely within 47 years, I've had periods of both love and hate with myself. But, you know, that's kind of, well, yeah, it'll be fitting into the conversation, I suppose. But, um, I never sought that out. So I never thought that that would solve anything. Um, I always knew I would have to be good by myself. But I looked at, obtaining that person, whatever that was, that mate that we all seek, um, as a value add, something that would add to my life. And it definitely has a lot. We'll talk about that. But, you know, I would imagine that whatever that feeling is of um, having that desire that's like a soul pit type of thing that you can only feel lonely and needing connection. Um, I can imagine that if you feel that way, then you just have this kind of like a super desire for it, like it's a need, almost like you need water. Um, that's what I imagine it to be, but I don't know. But essentially, getting this water and or this relationship, some people believe that that's going to quench that thirst, that's going to fill that spot. Um, and I think it does, but in a different way. I think there's this, people maybe they want so much they forget they forget what maybe the reality, the cost of what a relationship actually is. When you get deep down into it, how much work it is, you know, just think about you spend this time by yourself and you want this connection and you have your own ways, you can do your own thing, you ask nobody for permissions, you go, you come as you please. Um, and then it kind of starts off with, hey, now you're romantically involved with one person and maybe you respect each other enough and you kind of have this common courtesy and you tell each other and then you're serious and then maybe like our path we lived together for 6 years um, before we got married and we've been married what 11, so coming up on 18. But I kind of lost my train of thought doing math there. I just think there's this, yes, it's going to give you something, but you have to give a lot if you want a lot out of it. You have to give a lot. And over time, what I'm describing is, it's a lot. If you want to last a long time, if you want to have a relationship with the same person and grow with them and evolve with them and evolve yourself, um, it's and that's kind of what I want to go into is I think, you know, the most important thing is if you're that person who feels like you need that, you know, I would say to be investing in yourself into tools, into, making sure that you have your self love and boundaries and what needs to be done down. Um, Making sure that you have people to talk to, safe people to talk to, um, coping mechanisms, because I think initially, like if you're in love, you know, you might have hard boundaries, but you give boundaries, um, kind of as a sign of love, like a peace offering. Maybe you move them. Maybe they're not that big of a deal. Maybe the boundary is which way the toilet paper roll goes. Does it go over? Does it go under? Comment below. um, but you have to learn these tools. You have to, um, they say how you treat yourself, is you show others how you want to be treated. Um, being able to do that, being able to cope, because you know the other part of that is okay. Maybe you go through some tough times. Now you don't have to rely on yourself. Now you have a partner. You can lean on, and that's cool. That's good. Um, unless you're fighting with your partner. You're not leaning on them. Of course, you're fighting with them. Um, but Then let's say you have kids. Um, Things become more about the kids. Um, and so your boundaries you can move those. Um, but also, just kind of the way the day goes is sometimes time is fragmented, according to work and school schedules, and then you're both worried about the kids and you put a lot of effort into the kids, and just naturally, um, even though you're together, you're not necessarily connected. You're connected, I think, in smaller increments. But then also, you're probably less willing to. I mean, you do lean on your partner still, unless you're fighting with your partner, of course. And maybe you should, because sometimes I think, you fight because you're passionate. You fight because you love each other. Um, you wouldn't fight with somebody who wouldn't matter to you. Be pointless. Wouldn't serve you, right? So, um, but I think you get better at it. I think you evolve. Um, you know, I think we get better at it. Definitely. Like, I mean, even the other day we had this thing where we were just talking and some small argument. I don't even remember what it was about, but it was like, she's like, I didn't call to argue. I was like, yeah, I know you didn't, and neither did I. And it's not getting us anywhere. I don't even remember what it was about. It's usually about something stupid. Um, which is crazy, and maybe it's just a different way of looking at it. Um, and that's kind of one of those things is you have to remember that you're on the same team always. But it's easy to get pulled, 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 pulled in many different directions depending on what you do, depending on work. Through the different careers we've had as we've been together. I've cooked at country clubs, restaurants, was a personal trainer at Gold's Gym, worked in hospitals, night shifts, mixed martial arts training center, IRS, a lot of different things. Um, those environments change dynamics. Uh, all along finding your way. I spent the most time probably and definitely in healthcare. But you're kind of evolving together. So we both like ended up in healthcare. Yeah, doing the same stuff. Uh, but we've always made it work. Sometimes I had the higher paying job. Sometimes she had the higher paying job. Um, it's always been a back and forth, a team effort, doing things. Um, but that's kind of what it takes. It takes a lot of, you might find something about somebody that annoys you, but then eventually at some point you're like, you don't even care. It becomes so stupid over time to think about. Um, but then, like, let's say my wife, like, she was married prior to me. Therefore, she had two children. you know, that were 2 and 3 when we met, and one just turned 21 last week. So, yeah, a long time, but, they have a father, and I have some episodes on that. The relationship I have with the father, but and the extended in-laws, but everybody doesn't have that kind of relationship. Um, Somewhere people lose their damn mind and forget it's about the kids. And just because two people can't get along and decided to have a child doesn't mean the child should have to go through hell just because the adults can't act like grown-ups. But, that's just my take. But for us, it's been okay. But, you know, what I'm saying too is, I have family, extended family that my wife's met, and like it just opens up this world of connections. Um, and over time, like it's 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 neat. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy. Be hectic, be challenging. Think like anything. Sometimes there's good seasons, there's bad seasons, um, better seasons maybe. Um, and kind of the point I'm making to all this is it's a lot of work. So when when you feel that you need that connection so bad, like a drink of water that's going to quench your thirst, the soul, um, that love that you need, understand what you have to give and be willing to give. That's what I'm saying. Um, you get a lot out of it, but you got to give a lot. Got to be okay with not being okay. Got to be okay with being okay. You got to be okay with sometimes the people around you not being okay. Um, you know, some of the people who listen to this podcast, the Podcast Connection Network, I mean, we focus on a mental health component, and I started off about taking care of yourself, becoming the person that you would want to be with, that you want to meet, um, because you're going to need all these tools to have a sustained relationship. You know, you can call it successful because maybe we've done it for 18 years. Um, Maybe we had periods of success and less success, you know, like a business or anything. Um, but, we've always gotten through it, whatever it was. But it's taken a lot of effort. And, you know, I'm nowhere near perfect. I've been a complete shit show many times over 18 years. Um, and she's put up with me and loved me and supported me, hosed me off a few times. Um, but, you know, there's going to be times when you're not okay, and it's going to be hard for you to maybe talk to that person you should be talking to. Or sometimes, like brothers or sisters who spend too much time together, like maybe you don't think they'll understand. and it's harder to talk to them, and that's where like professional therapy comes in. You know, some people talk to friends, safe people, safe spaces, therapists, um, to navigate through these things. But what I'm getting at is it's challenging to grow as an individual. When you yourself get down and go to deep and dark places, and you feel like a burden to the people around you, but you have people who are counting on you. You got people who expect you to show up, expect you to show up a certain way. And sometimes you fail to show up that way. And that's a lot to take on. It's a lot of guilt. It's a lot of shame. Sometimes you show up worse. Um, you know, and it's very possible, you know, to have that person, but still feel lonely, because what you're looking for, only you can give you. Um, you're the only one who can give you that love, but that other person's love should be, you know, something that's just a value add that completes you in a way, um, that makes you a better person. I could say that. That's something, being a father, being a husband has sometimes made me a better person. Um, it had made me worse. My behavior was not correlated with them, but I can say that I would have probably run this train off the rails more than once if I hadn't been married or had children to be responsible for. So they've definitely been a value add in my life. Um, but yeah, that's like any relationship, even some of the ones that we have, through TikTok, through a listenership. Maybe you listen to this and I know you. Maybe you listen to this and we talk. Um, we're exchanging energy, we're exchanging time. Um, but I think like with any valuable relationship, or relationship that holds value, you know, it takes time and it takes effort. It takes a text here or there to say, "Hey, how are you?" Um, and I've tried to get better about that with, maybe people I hadn't seen in a while, and I got a Facebook message from a guy I met at the Kyle Smith show, Alex, and he was standing in front of the Waffle House representing. So that was cool. While his kid was at baseball practice, and he's gonna have some Waffle House because we both share a love for that, and listen to an episode, which was awesome, and he really enjoyed it. But um, you know, that's relationship. He put out the effort. I'm grateful for that. Um, it made my morning, to hear from him. Or, you have these moments of, I've been running into an old friend from high school lately, John. He and I were the two half Mexicans. We made up the one full one. But I keep running into him, and yeah, it's cool. And actually, I don't know where we were, but he gave me a hug, and that was cool. And, you know, I had just asked him about his father, and um, he had texted me maybe a week later that, or 2 weeks later, that his father had passed. So I was thankful that he texted me, and he had told me how him and his daughter were there, and said, "Well, at least you guys were there." Um, and he agreed. So yeah, relationships, they go deep, and I hadn't seen his dad in forever. But just the fact that I asked about him and thought about him, I was like, I wanted to ask because I wanted to know, but I was worried that, you know, he had potentially passed during COVID or something because, you know, I had family members passing COVID, and, you know, you want to be sensitive to the subject and time. And sometimes he has his younger daughter with him. And, but yeah, just being able to, it's crazy. And I'm thankful he reached out to me and told me. I think we've known each other since kindergarten. Yeah, it's wild. Been seeing him a lot lately, which is cool. It's nice seeing him around. How we're so similar, so different. We shared a lot of fun times, a lot of experiences together. Um, but yeah, you know, the evolution of relationships, the different types of relationships, the friendships, um, that transcend these, you know, people I went to grade school with. One of my best friends, we're 47, we sat next to each other in the first grade, so 41 years. Friends longer than a lot of people have been alive. Maybe some of you listening to the podcast. But the point is sometimes there's good times, sometimes there's bad times. You don't talk sometimes. There's missed periods of time. Not all great, but I think in the end, like, the true friendships that have been nurtured and the work's been put into, and they can, if they have problems, they can drop them, set them aside. And just like a romantic relationship, just like a husband and wife argument, sometimes you just gotta go, I don't even know what the fuck we were arguing about. This is dumb. It solves nothing. Serves us no purpose. It's not moving us forward. Why are we doing it? And on that note, if you're lonely and single, be arming yourself with tools. Tools that you can navigate all this stuff I've just vomited out of my thoughts, my 18 years of almost 18 years of with one person. And um, the joy that it's provided, the challenges that's created, some very interesting times, but I wouldn't change them. I probably could, and I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for her. Um, I was a little too wild, a little too crazy, a little too mouthy. Yeah, she keeps me pretty But, as I learn more about myself and I learn to evolve, I have to communicate like, hey, how to love me. Um, I've evolved as a person. I've had to change. I no longer want to do what I once did. I do not want to go back into that environment. Because I believe if I go back into that environment, then um, I'll be the same unhappy piece of shit or get to that point that I was, where I was unhappy and not taking care of myself and being impulsive and just being a dick sometimes. Um, yeah. Mm. So, yeah, thinking about that kind of spun me off into a different land for a moment. Probably tell by my face. But almost like being a manager or firing people, or probably what it used to be like to ask a girl on a date, like when I was in school and in my 19s and 20s, and you kind of went to the bar, or if you saw a chick like at a Barnes and Noble while you were studying, maybe you asked for their phone number, asked if they wanted to study, or, asked some girl you were taking biology with if, you know, it was different. You had to have some balls. You couldn't send over a text. You couldn't swipe right. You couldn't swipe left. Um, and I think kind of like having uncomfortable conversations, you know, that's it. A lot of how friendships, romantic relationships, business relationships, all kinds of relationships, sometimes they involve tough conversations and uncomfortable. That's a feeling, and we all know that. Tough. Some people know tough. We're like, yeah, tough. What does that mean? You associate it with words or firing or ideas where, you know, something that you can feel. So, yeah, not tough, but you got to be willing to feel uncomfortable. Get have uncomfortable conversations and address the problem right away and try to work through it. And, you know, where where are the lines? Was it stupid? But, and I think if you feel alone, don't isolate. Not healthy. That person's supposed to be your ride or die. You need to talk to them unless they're not a safe or comfortable space for you. Maybe you need a therapist or a safe and comfortable space. But ideally, still, if you have a significant other, you're going to have to talk to them. It's going to have to be uncomfortable, just the way it is. Um, and that's kind of something I'm learning, and getting more comfortable doing is um, there was a period where I just had a hard time talking to my wife because, it was obviously I was looking for a job and wasn't getting jobs, and it was a lot of pressure on me. Um, and so, I felt like maybe every time I brought up a conversation, it would be geared towards that way, or every time she brought it up, like I felt anxiety. Um, so it was never like healthy. It never felt good. Um, and so I still think sometimes I have negative connotation. Like I know there's a job out there that I want, that I can get, that's right for me, but sometimes that vibe that I felt, however long it was ago, gives me like a knot in my stomach, and it's kind of a knot of like, hey, you want to perform, but um, just not happening. You know, and the spreadsheets, the interviews, all that stuff. Wasn't gonna relocate to some crappy place for a low paying job. So, but yeah, when you're feeling that, be putting tools in your toolbox, be arming yourself with knowledge, be learning to arm yourself with grace and forgiveness, because you're going to need a lot of it, both for yourself and the other person. It's not about being perfect. It's about choosing to be value adds to each other's life, whether they're friendships, whether they're romantic ones, or soul connections that aren't romantic, or um, there's all kinds of friendships. There's some that are casual, um, passings, um, friendly, motivational swipe throughs on TikTok, all kinds. Yeah, me, I pick up from many places when I Uber. I see some of the same people. Sometimes some people offer me food and drink, which is nice of them. They don't have to. So that's nice. But I would say if you focus on self-development, learning about yourself, learning to be uncomfortable, learning how to focus, learning how to get away and separate yourself from chaos. If you live with 5 to 7 people, be like living in a fraternity. Be like living with coworkers, some that you get along great with, some that you don't. Um, it can be all kinds of things, but you know, a lot of what you're going to have to give yourself in the middle of the chaos going on around you, with maybe 4 or 5 people who all depend on you or have some sort of dependence on you, or expect something from you, expect you to act a certain way. Um, and that can be very difficult. Be a lot of pressure to try to be all these things to everyone else while fixing yourself. So, you know, put the work in on yourself now, fill up your tool chest, and, you know, like climbing Mount Everest, or when I did the Bataan Death March, I wanted to do a marathon. Like, it's going to be long, there's going to be some pain involved, but it's going to be fun, it's going to be memorable, it's going to be a great trip. It's a lot of fun. I've talked about it on 2 or 3 podcasts. Yeah. And it was doing something tough. Relationships are tough. Good ones at last are. Anyway. So, you know, It'll come when you're not looking for it, but I'm not trying to scare anybody off. I'm just trying to say, once you get that, you think that's the thing, and the real work begins. And I think it's like that with everything. It was easier for me when I could just record a podcast into my phone and release it whenever I saw fit. Um, Now I'm part of a group um, with expectations, and it's a good thing. So, you know, like I said, I'm not wanting to scare anyone off. I'm just kind of rambling of stuff I've been thinking about of get ready to work and try to enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. They always say. But, with all that being said, your journey may be different. If you're happy single, stay single. If you and another adult are consenting and can be friends and, you know, friends with benefits and be grown ups about it, fine. You do you. I don't really care what anybody does as long as, you know, it's between consenting adults. Um, yeah, you do you. I don't care about any of that stuff. Which now I'm like, I don't even know why I brought it up. It's like my mind just goes brain fart for a minute. Oh, I think I was just saying, you know, if you're consenting adults and you know what you're looking for, if you're fine as a single person and you're enjoying being single and you're fulfilled and you give that thing to yourself, like I was able to go to concerts, movies, whatever, or dinner by myself. I don't need anyone. Is it better with someone? Yes. If you find it's better with somebody and this person would like to accompany you and you'll have an adult night out between two consenting adults and that's what it is, that's what it is. That's fine. It's fine to get some physical connection, physical affection. We all desire that too, but and that even takes a little bit of work, or it did back in the day. Weren't just swiping them right and left. They could like cruise the mall, the strip, walk the mall, possibly fight somebody over someone else's honor. Yeah, Gen X, crazy. Um, but yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for love, and for all you lonely people, I have hope for you. Make sure that's what you're really looking for. Make sure it's not the thing that you need to give yourself that's missing. Because I can tell you, navigating, trying to go through the journey, it's it's been challenging, but fun, rewarding. I'm still learning, still getting better, still improving. And, I listen to podcasts from other podcasters in kind of my age group. And, you know, some become empty nesters when some of their kids grow up. And, you know, then them and their spouse are reconnecting, and that's a whole other thing. That's kind of cool. I mean, we still got 10 years before we're empty nesters, but nonetheless, it's still important to try to have date nights now that my, you know, mom can watch my daughter, and um, they do their own things sometimes, or all the girls go out. So, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what if this was exactly about loneliness, exactly about relationships, loneliness and relationships. Be careful what you ask for. It's a lot of work when you get it, probably like with anything. You ask for a promotion and oh shit, now I got a whole bunch more fucking work to do. Great. Well, you asked for it. Remember that. When you get it, when you're lonely, and you get that or that eyes, everything that comes with it. Might be a burp or a fart after if it's a chugging a cold beer, but you know, take it as it comes. You do you. Take my advice for what it's worth. It's not even advice. I'm just on here rambling about a topic that I've been thinking about. But on that note, I have about 3 guests that I want to interview. I just got to get them scheduled up and um, get those completed. So we're all older. Some of us had kids, family lives, challenging. Also, I have a recording coming up on Amber's podcast. I don't know when it'll drop, but if you go to the Podcast Connection Network homepage, you will be able to find that. So, but I would just continue to listen, follow us, like, subscribe, leave a comment, even if it's just heart, hands. Um, Thought, good job. Love to know honest opinions. Um, but all of it helps wherever you get your podcasts, or if you get all of them. The video is available through Spotify and YouTube. Audio's through Amazon and Apple. Yeah, that's it. I look forward to bringing you more guests, and sorry if I sounded confused, rambled. Um, I've had a lot of thoughts. I think energy has been kind of shifty lately, and I had to spend some time with the family, and the time change, and things not necessarily going as planned, and it's been kind of good, but been kind of mm, meh. Be better. Cooper sucked today. Wasn't worth it, but at least I got to pick up my daughter, so that was cool. And I got barbecue, so it all worked out. And you never know unless you try. So see, just like relationships, I'm not bitching about it. I'm just saying, be flexible. You never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes if it ain't exactly as planned, brush it off. Look for the good things, like the barbecue, the good times I got to pick up my daughter. You know, it'll all work out. It'll all be okay. Don't be uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. The whole point of having that is to grow closer. Hopefully. But, you know, as long as you approach each other with respect, then there's really nothing that can't be solved. Even if it's not eye to eye. But till next time, make sure you go check out the Podcast Connection Network. All the podcasts. Make sure you head around to TikTok, Instagram. The same names you'll find on TikTok. TikTok you'll find on Instagram. If for some reason TikTok should go away, you'd probably find us on Instagram or Facebook. So, and YouTube. Yeah. So go over there, like, subscribe, keep that stuff handy. But hopefully next week I'll get a guest. Got a little bit of time coming up. I hope I can get it all done before Easter, and if not, I might even take a portable rig and just basically do mobile podcasting while I'm gone, guests and all. Because I have 3 guests that I just need dates for, but I probably have a couple guests I could interview out of town if I wanted to. So we shall see. But till next time, go out and be the person you would like to meet. I'm getting tired, so I'm going to upload this and go to bed, wake up at 5 something a.m., take my daughter to school, visit with my dad, work a little bit in the rain, pick daughter up, listen to podcasts, which is kind of like studying, try to get things done while on the road. Got my glasses on, so I can't see that. Pause record. Alrighty. Peace out.